Grace Blakeley, I haven't seen you for a while.
Hey, nice to be back.
Welcome back. Nice of you to stop gallivanting around the world. What do you make of all this?
Well, I mean, you know, I think what we've just heard, the Truss has appointed a lot of key allies to senior positions out of basically fear that she's going to be stabbed in the back, tells you a lot of what you need to know about this government, which is that she's come in from a relatively weak position. She doesn't have the support of a lot of her MPs. She doesn't have as strong support among the Conservative Party membership as we might have thought. Certainly at the beginning of the campaign. The campaign obviously had its own fair share of fiascos and U-turns and didn't leave her looking particularly prime ministerial. And now she's going into this massive crisis, you know, and she has to basically try and unite two wings of the Conservative Party, one of which is kind of Boris's populist,
you know what?
who are much more relaxed about spending, and then the right-wing free market neoliberals.
Here's the problem, Richard Tice. I don't care about the infighting of the bloody Conservative Party. I want them to focus on the people of this country.
It all revolves
That's my problem. I'm fed up with all this infighting.
And to be honest, Piers, it all revolves around the energy plan. I produced an emergency energy plan 3 weeks ago. I know it's being looked at in the heart of government. If she gets that right, this week, she will get a big, big boost. She will unite millions of households up and down the country.
How can she do it and cut taxes?
Very simply, you put the onus on the gas producers, the energy generators, not on us, the taxpayer and the borrower, because otherwise you're literally borrowing from us, taxpayer, to give it to the oil producers. I said you've got to revert to the average 2021 price for the wholesale price, and you've got to say to all the generators in the UK, that's what you're doing. That's the price you get when you sell to the UK.
Shockingly, I do not disagree with Richard on this, actually. I know, this is crazy.
Isn't it wonderful?
It is. It's brilliant, because it's very obvious. What we're seeing at the moment, it looks like the beginning of a plan from Liz Truss, which is an energy price cap, but it's not an energy price cap, because a cap implies that you are, you know, capping the price at which producers can sell, and that involves them taking a hit, potentially with a small subsidy from the state. What she's really doing is saying, you guys keep all the profits, you carry on making all the extraordinary profits you're making, and we will basically pay you the difference between what consumers are paying at this cap level. So it's corporate welfare, basically.
But the point is, this isn't for 6 months, Piers. We're in a global energy war that could last 3, 5, 7 years. So you have to have a plan that responds to that.
Well, the problem that Liz Truss has got is that none of the plans she has for making Britain less energy dependent on other countries are going to kick in before an election.
Exactly.
She's got a ticking clock to that election. I want to bring in Douglas Murray across the pond there in New York. Douglas, looking from afar, what do you make of this? Liz Truss, I don't think I can ever remember any leader short of after World War II inheriting a worse situation than this. Do you have any confidence that Liz Truss is the woman to guide us to quieter waters, to calmer waters?
Not very much. I wish her well, as I think everybody should. The only person I can think of who came into a worse position was Theresa May after her very bad call in the 2017 general election. The problem that Liz Truss is getting into is this, as your other guests have just said, it's unlikely, whatever she does, that the benefits of her governance are going to be felt fast. Everything to do with the energy crisis, everything to do with the cost of living crisis. She's got basically 2 years to solve these things. And it seems very unlikely she could do it in that time. And here's the bigger problem, Piers, as you well know. We're now 12 years in to Conservative governance in the UK. 12 years. And to a great extent, this feels to me like the major years, when you had that third press of the Conservative talent, and you had all of these crises and the feeling that they couldn't get on top of it. I, of course, hope, like everybody else, that Liz Truss can. But the problem she has is that, you know, the question will keep being asked, particularly by the Labour opposition, well, who's been running the joint for the last 12 years? OK, for 5 years, the Conservative Party had Nick Clegg manacled to their leg, a very unpleasant situation for anyone to be in. But after those 5 years, we have had 7 years of Conservative majority rule. And, you know, all of these questions that are coming up are questions that could have been answered before. And I think we're going to start hearing the same excuses from Conservative ministers as we've heard in recent years. They'll tell us that the blob is the problem, that the civil service is the problem, that the unions are the problem, and all sorts of other things. And they may be right on that. but the question will keep coming up, well, who's been in charge?
I agree.
For the
I mean,
last 12
let me
years?
bring Grace back in on that, because the other problem Liz Truss has got, she's got the spectre of Boris Johnson who'll be lurking like this ugly shadow in the background, ready to pounce. You know, he did a typical Boris job this morning. I was watching it live. He comes out, doesn't apologise for anything. No regrets, all very buffoonery. These are all my greatest hits. It's all been a tremendous success, and see you later. And then the sun came out and kind of shone on this guy as he sauntered out of Downing Street, compared to poor old Truss, who got poured on. And, you know, he's a lucky general, Boris, in many ways, isn't he? He then quoted some Roman emperor who famously went back to a farm and ploughed the fields. What he didn't mention was that emperor, he then came back from the field. He left his plough and came back to save the country. He sounds like Trump when he speaks like this.
I know, of course. I mean, you know, why do you think he did this ridiculous farewell tour? Going around saying, look at all the wonderful things I've done, look at how green I've made Britain, despite the fact that if we had actually gone green, we wouldn't be dealing with the scale of this energy crisis that we're dealing with right now. He's obviously planning on coming back. You know, he's going to go away, go on the speaking circuit for a few years, make huge amounts of money.
The book will make millions.
Make huge amounts of money while people in this country are literally struggling to heat their homes. Come back when he's dealt with all of his offspring and given them as much money
Richard,
as
we are in an
need.
era, aren't we, where shamelessness with politicians can be very successful. Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, they have no shame.
Just focus on the track record. 12 years, as Douglas said, of Tory leadership, Tory government has left, as you said, a crisis of crises. There are so many, you can't name them all, you forget them. I mean, this is incompetence, it's negligence, and it's the British people, the lowest paid, the least well off, who are going to suffer the most. And that's what I really resent.
It is actually the legacy of a failed macroeconomic agenda that Liz Truss is saying that she's basically going to revive. She's saying, I'm the next Thatcher.
And which, by the way, her fingerprints have been all over as a member of successive governments.
Totally.
She's been there 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So she's not squeaky clean coming in here like, nothing to do with me, Gov. It was you, Gov, right?
I mean, you know, what's she going to do? Tax cuts. Right, OK, we've already got high levels of inequality. Thatcher did tax cuts.
We can't afford... Well,
that's why I disagree.
It's a big myth. I keep mentioning this. Margaret Thatcher, when she came in and inherited a very hard situation, bad economy, she didn't cut taxes. She put them up.
She waited a few years.
She put them up to start with.
But the truth
Then
is,
the economy settled down, then she cut them.
The top rate of income tax was 80% when Thatcher came to power, and then she steadily reduced it.
You can't tax your way out of a crisis. You've got to grow your way out of a crisis. After the Second World War, our national debt fell from 150% down to about 50% very quickly because of growth. And she's right on that.
But
so
tax
she's got
cuts
to
don't deliver growth.
They do.
If tax cuts delivered growth, then, you know, we would have had astonishingly levels of growth over the course of the coalition government when they introduced the corporate tax reform. They cut corporation tax
for 70 years.
We're in a race to the bottom on corporation tax, and that's
supposed
to be what delivers investment.
Actually, as leaders from Thatcher to Reagan and others have proven, when the economy is doing well and is stable and you cut taxes, you can get the growth.
But how do you get the economy well and doing stable? You need low levels of inequality. You need investment.
I don't think you can do it.
Investment,
I don't think you can massively increase borrowing by 100 billion and cut taxes and expect growth.
The government's balance sheet is absolutely fine as long as you cut taxes, you cut unnecessary regulation, and you go for growth. What you don't do is borrow to subsidise, to give 100 billion quid to a bunch of already very rich investors in oil producers.
OK, well, look,